Monica Church, you're back. How are you?
Yeah. I'm Miss Church now.
Miss Church? Mrs. Church. Miss Church?
Miss.
Miss Church. God bless it. Well, Miss Church, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Long day at school.
It was a long day. They're all long days. You forget how trying it is to keep kids engaged and to be on the entire time and to be funny and to not say what you're thinking in your head.
And it's so frustrating because they get to say whatever they want. Whatever comes to mind, they just blurt it out.
Yeah, they do. And then you have to really think about how you're going to engage with
crazy people, crazy young people.
Yeah.
I love them though. Like it's a great time. I was actually expecting in the wake of the session for things to really settle down. And it is not like things are like it's just rolling up to the next thing. Cause I was telling you, I had Brett Wilder on, who is an ag economist, and we were talking about tariffs in Idaho and what it's going to do to our economy. It's like, oh, this is really complex. And he's like, yeah, it's 11:35 right now on, Wednesday. It could be different by 1:35. Like we have no idea. The volatility of the situation is astronomical, but it's what that was to me is a reminder. It's like, listen, the world is so complex. You're never going to run out of complexities. Right. And if you enjoy, which is kind of like this show, it's like bringing reality or reducing down complexities into manageable chunks.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's true about the legislature as well. Now knowing a little bit more, it's not that the legislature goes away. It's that now's the opportunity to get out into the public and, push a new idea, a new bill with your constituents and then bring that back. And so, yeah, it just doesn't end. Nothing ends. And it's going to be really interesting to see where we go in the next few months.
Did you have any bills where it's like, well, there's always next year? I had one.
Yeah, me too.
It's like you literally it's like the season's over. You missed the last pitch. Always next year.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But I did get the, at least the handshake that it would be printed again and we'd start over.
Just back in the fight.
Yeah, back in the fight.
I feel really, like I'm not in the legislature. I'm not trying to represent myself as something as like, what you are. But I thought it was really interesting being engaged in this session in the way I was, because it was unique compared to other people, right? And just looking at it from a long-term standpoint, which is like, look, if you stay in the fight for 10 or 20 years, then in 20 years, there's going to be a you that comes in, and then recognizing maybe you and I, because we're similar ages and we're young, and, you're in it for Idaho. I'm definitely in it for Idaho, long-term. So it's maybe we're those people, maybe we're the youngins to the old people who are who's going to, fight the fight. It's like, oh, well, those 2 or those 3 or those 10.
You always hope so.
Yeah.
Mentorship is, something that I hope is on the incline. There was definitely a decrease there for a little while. It felt as if there was kind of a body of people who were not taking on a younger group and saying, let me show you the ropes. Let me, help you get into this position if this is something that you're interested in. And I think to, culture's demise. So, and I know we've talked about that, with jobs. A lot of the reason, apprenticeships and those kind of things, it's difficult if you don't have the people at the top who are still there and willing to kind of train and bring people along. So I hope not only are we being mentored, but also that we can mentor other young people.
Dude, I want a mentor. I don't get a mentor. I'm a monkey by myself in a dark room. I would love to have.
True.
Okay. Where's the media mentor?
Well, but I wouldn't say media mentor.
Okay.
All these people that you have been interviewing, 170 some odd people in 5 days, those are all mentors. You are learning a million different things all at once. And anytime you probably now had a question about something in Idaho or wanted to experience something in Idaho, you probably have a phone number. And that's mentorship. And any of those people would probably be very excited for you, your kids, your wife, to come wherever it is, whether it's to INL or, backpacking in the Sawtooths.
I can't.
I mean, all those things are open to you because of relationships, and they would love you to just learn more about their thing.
Yeah, I guess the reason I kind of rebuff that is more of like, I've made a lot of friends, right? Like Nick Fasciano was in here, IWF, right?
He's so great.
Love him. He was in yesterday, and he was telling me that he's really excited for turkey season. And I got a hold of, immediately following that conversation, I got a hold of Burke Mantell, who like really introduced the turkey season to Idaho back in like 1982. I'm like, Burke, you got to come on for episode number 2. And Burke's, like 80. And he got here a long time ago, and there wasn't a turkey season. There were like 40 wild turkeys in Idaho. And he was integral in inserting, turkeys so they could reproduce and we'd have this season. I was like, Nick, you gotta take me turkey hunting. He's like, I'll take you turkey. So like,
you could come to my neighborhood right now and go turkey hunting. The wild turkeys at the north end have really, it's gotten out of control.
I feel like you probably can't shoot within the city limits though.
No.
But bow and arrow, perhaps?
We could have a culling season. Turkey, maybe Canadian geese.
Yeah.
Canada geese.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I have been exceedingly fortunate to meet just really, really cool people that I literally can call or text at this point and just say, hey, I'm like, what about, I'd like to talk about this issue, or what about this thing? And I didn't have that before. There was actually a period about a year ago. This is kind of funny. Maybe even 6 months ago, where somebody close to me recommended, who's involved in politics, was like, you should interview this guy. I'm like, I'm not going to interview that guy. And like, well, I think you should, because, he's part of Idaho politics. And I literally got really, really, really nervous. Because I was like, what if I'm being set up? So I had to.
Who is this? All this.
I'll tell you off air. But the point is, I had to reach out to other people in the know and be like, hey, is this somebody like I don't understand politics. I don't understand ramifications of these things. Like, what do you think about this? And he was like, oh yeah, you should think about that. So like, I got really nervous. But again, I have friends, like our mentors, whatever you want to say.
You have a lot of people who want you to be successful. And I think that's what a mentor is. It also is a friend. It's also a family, but they want you to be successful for your sake, not just their own. You
have talked about your fellow legislators so positively, like friendship, and you're friends with people and colleagues with people that are on the complete polar opposite political spectrum of you. Like, how have you been able, what does that mean to you? Like, what does friendship mean to you when the prevailing sentiment is always, if somebody's not politically aligned with you, they're the damn enemy. And you are somebody who has always, on and off air, talked so positively about people that are the opposite of you. How do you do that?
I mean, I give credit where credit's due. I suppose that's the way I was raised. And being raised in Idaho politics from the minority party. I mean, not as minority as it is now. I think that was probably always instilled. Maybe, I don't know. It could also be a teacher thing. One time, Representative Gallavy said that there's no better preparation for being in the legislature than being a teacher, because you have, I'm secondary, so we have 160 students a day. So you have 160 different personalities. They're also bringing their entire life with them, and their parents and the administration and you've got to be able to navigate that in real time without offending anyone and without, losing who you are. And so people are people, and there's actually a lot more that we share in common. I'll give you a story. My daughter, who's a 9th grader, and in Boise schools, 9th grade is in junior high. So it's the end of, your junior high years. And I was in her room, and she was like, I just can't go to school. I can't do it.
My 8-year-old did that this morning.
Yeah. And I said, okay, so this feeling that you're having, totally age appropriate. You know, it's what we would call senioritis. You're at the end. I mean, that means that you've done everything. You don't feel like you're missing out. You just want to move ahead. I was like, and that feeling is going to be 100 times worse when you're a senior and you're ready to graduate. You will literally have to like drag yourself into the school building every day. Just like, oh, do I have to do this? And I said, so that is a feeling. It doesn't matter what political party, it doesn't matter what you feel about a certain topic. Like you bring that up and nearly every single person understands that feeling. And I think if you can find those kind of moments to laugh about, then we're all human. I wish we still had the same like TV shows and we all read the same books and we all, kind of understood those water cooler things. That would be fun too. But we do still all have the same experiences. Like senioritis is a real thing that we can all be like, oof, that was rough.
That was a rough one.
That
one was dark.
And we can see it in our own children and in other, in children in our lives. Like, oh, that is age appropriate.
That is age
appropriate. That feeling, that sucks. And you're going to get through it. That's, so that's how I feel about my friends in the legislature. We may not agree politically. Like we may even spar, I don't know what a better word is for it, in the actual building, but afterward, you know each other's hearts. And I didn't mean anyone that I didn't absolutely adore. And you've said the same thing. Like there's just good people.
Yeah. And you don't have to, why I ask is because it's almost like people need to relearn how to just be friends and neighbors with people. You said something in our first conversation that that has stuck to the inside of my skull. You're like, you love your neighbor, but they do their thing, you do your thing, you don't get in their business, they don't get in your business. Like everybody, love your neighbor, but everybody's doing their own thing. And I heard a term the other day that I think it was Sheriff Clifford said. He's like, I'm pro-social. Like you want to invite me to something? We have a thing. It's like, I come, like I enjoy the burger, like no problem. It's like, but after that, don't come to my house. Like, don't bother me with things. And he wasn't saying it in a weird way. I was talking about my own personal experiences with things and he was relating it. And it's almost like that's not possible. Like the amount of vitriol that I experienced this year just by publicly talking to people, not agreeing with them, not saying this is the right thing to do, not telling anybody what to think, but literally just talking to people, even the people getting a hold of me, even when they knew I had talked to the side they agreed with.
Yeah.
They were just mad that somebody existed that was counter to them. And I keep coming back to, your capacity to have genuine friendships and relationships with people that you disagree with. It's like, is this something that we all have to like learn again? And it seems that it is.
It might be. Yeah. And let's do it. Like,
yeah.
It is worth doing. It is worth knowing your neighbor, even if every, 2 years, you have different, national political party signs in your yard. Like, who cares? You also have to work together to cut down that, awful tree that is somehow on both of your properties.
Right.
I mean, that's like, we have to work together. Like we exist in the same realm and we do share a lot in common.
We share almost everything in common.
And I just like funny people. I don't care. I don't like your politics. Like, I just want people to be funny. I think that's where I draw the line.
I think funny. I think authentic. I think just like be a human. Right. Especially for people that, I was talking to somebody today. I feel bad about this, but I was talking to somebody today. I was driving down my street and I see friend's wife, and I'm friends with her too. Right. This gal, and she was in somebody's driveway. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? I stop the car, back up. I'm like, hey, she comes up and she's like, oh, hey, I'm getting a thing. I'm like, what are you getting? I'm like, I bought a bench. So she buys this bench because this person's moving back to Southern California. Okay. And we were chatting about
it. Is that happening? On a large scale?
This happened like an hour ago. Oh, is that happening on a large scale? I think more frequently than people think.
Okay.
And again, like you can say whatever you want about the person who moves here and then is like in love with it for 6 months and then is like, I'm out of here and moves back. But the thing that I came to really quickly was like, that's not an example of somebody thriving in life. And that's bad for all of us. They moved out of an area because they moved away from their home. They sold everything. They moved out because they were hurting. There was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then they moved somewhere and they experienced something different, but bad as well, that drove them back to the original place where they were hurting. And if you look at that as like, we're all Americans and that's my countrymen and that's my neighbor, my heart goes out for all of those people. Now, I love it here. God bless it. I'm digging in deeper and deeper every single day. And I don't love it here because everyone I meet reflects my political views or my religious views or my whatever views, right? I love it here because I love people and I love what the state is and that I've been able to experience. It's beautiful. But I think having that compassion, and having the compassion for people, that needs to come at the core of, like you say funny people. It's like, yeah, but I also think even funny or not funny, happy, not happy, you need to have compassion for people. Like this is a wild time to be alive. And I think the only way that you get to be hyper polarized is if you dehumanize people and you don't have compassion for them.
Well, that's the truth. But I wonder if this person that's moving
and selling their bench
and whatever are they selling, send me the Facebook Marketplace link.
I think they have some glasses too. Some Oakleys. Bring this mic closer. You're getting so far away. There you go. Anyway, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I wonder if they had more connections with their neighbors. Like, I wonder if it was a situation where they just didn't feel at home, which is to the point that, are we being open and kind and compassionate with the people around us who maybe don't agree with us or have different political signs out or, have kids or don't have kids, whatever it is. Like, are we forcing people to move? Like, that is really sad. That would be really sad if somebody felt that they didn't belong in one place, moved to another, and then was isolated and felt like they didn't belong and went back to the other place just because it was more known. Oh, that would be so sad.
That is absolutely happening.
Ugh.
It is. I have long thought since the first year I moved here and really started trying to understand this place that there's a concept of homelessness that it's like the homeless people that have houses. And it's so sad. And it's something that like, it really stops me because as much as I dig in here every day, like get my hands in the mud and I meet people and I'm like, there's always somebody reminding me, this is not your home. And it's like, well, I mean, maybe it is. They're like, no, it's not. And the desire for people to other you instantaneously. And it's really sad. And I hope my children don't have to experience that. I hope they don't, go through that. But like my home, my original home also was no longer my home because it was no longer a community that I understood. It was no longer a community that I felt comfortable in or welcomed in. And so I was like, I'll move somewhere else for a number of reasons. I moved here, obviously. But then you get here and you're like, yes, great. And they're like, no, go back. You're like, go back where? Go back where? Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? And it's one of those things. I think it's, again, a reminder for compassion for people that feel othered. Because it's like, people be like, Matt's just like a big white guy. First off, I'm Mexican. I'm not white.
But you are big.
Which apparently people don't know. Everybody thinks I'm short. I'm like, they think I'm like Tom Cruise, like 5'4" or something. But it's like, no, I feel it. And it's a reminder to have compassion for people that feel that way for a different reason.
You saying that, I mean, I'm teaching right now I teach a world history class and I also teach a U.S. history class. And it's like, okay, well, what leads to conflict? And in both world history and of course in, U.S. history as it relates to World War I and World War II, nationalism and isolationism, right? Those are the two things, right? This sense of othering, this sense of you are better than others based on where you exist or where you were born or where your parents were born.
Which is exactly what happens.
And then isolating yourself from anything else. I mean, those are, it's conflicts in communities, it's conflicts in, states. When we consider something like the United States, it's conflicts with countries. I mean, it's the same pattern every time. And once you isolate, create a false sense of identity, then you start building up arms, whether that is fences or, actual military arms. And when everybody starts doing that, it just takes, one thing to cause a huge problem. So you'd think we'd learn by now. Not to do that.
I think I remember reading about a study a long time ago where psychologists lined up a big group of people and they just categorize them. They're like, okay, like count off real fast, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it was. They're like, okay, you guys, the odds are going to be, here, and the evens are going to be here. And people are like, okay, great. Totally random. Just had people count off. And they're like, okay, we're going to go get this thing set up, hang out here. And without fail, almost instantaneously, the odds start figuring out ways that the odds are better than the evens.
Oh,
as a group, as collectively as a group, it's like, what? And that really, again, I remember it from reading it years ago. I was like, oh, be careful, man. Like you stink just as, like, there is nothing that makes you just inherently better. We're meaning makers, right? We're storytellers. And we come up with these stories that relate, superiority just based on like the most arbitrary, random things ever.
Yeah.
Like has nothing to do with characters or value sets or, successes and failures. It's like, but I'm a 7.
Right.
And you're a 4.
I know. Well, and some of them are completely arbitrary. And then some of them you don't realize that are being placed on you without really your even understanding that it's happening, which makes it even sadder that you are othering based on something that you don't really even fully understand, that has kind of been attributed to you for sometimes nefarious reasons. Just to make you conflicted or make you in conflict with others. It's not.
I think people also do it so they can, again, justify not listening, right? Like I had this really interesting exchange with a woman who said all these terrible things to me recently. And it was all based on the West Ada snafu, which again, I'm not like, I have a kid in West Ada, but like, I have no part in this. I just talked to 2 people from West Ada and I talked to 2 people that didn't agree with West Ada. It's like, great, do the 4 episodes, move on with your life. Like, I'm not defending a policy, a position, anything, but like this gal is really hot to say all these terrible things about me, even though she knew I interviewed both sides. It came out that she had like actually listened to all 4 interviews, and it's like she said all these terrible things. And I think it was really at the heart so she could justify dismissing the middle ground and dismissing that there are 2 sides to the story. And to do that, she had to dismiss me as a person, like categorically. It's like, how does that work? Like, I'm not even involved in this policy. I'm just a dude who did some interviews. And like, you have to have the story about me being this hyper right-wing Christian national, Caucasian male who's trying to dominate women and people of color. I'm like, how, like, cause I did a podcast?
That's
a lot.
That's a bold jump.
That's a bit.
Well, hopefully she got something out of it. You're in a unique position, which is, it's not new necessarily for some, but it's definitely new for Idaho, I feel, and for a large demographic in Idaho, that you are both, the social media, the alternative media, but you also are accessible. And that's interesting. News has never really been accessible. You couldn't just call Cronkite. You can't. You just can't like call them or email them and
get into
have
it.
Exactly. You couldn't do that. You still can't do that.
Right.
And then you have social media where you can be anonymous and just fill a space with hate or love or whatever it is. Right. You can just fill it. And then there's this kind of middle that a lot of us have kind of lived in for a while, but it is opening up, this kind of podcast, YouTube reality where it is both informative without trying to make any, sway. It's not aligned with a government or anti-government, but it's also accessible. And I think, one, me, I think that is amazing. I'm a podcast addict, but I think it's new. And hopefully she thinks about it too. Like, wow, I listened, I had feelings about it, and I actually got to talk to the person. We had a conversation, and maybe at the end of it, she feels heard. and can start to hear others in her own life.
You know what I walked away from that with was, again, I had compassion for this woman because what I realized I should have said to her right away was, hey, I feel like you're really upset and you're not upset with me. You can just get a hold of me. To your point, accessible. And I think that's also very, very true. I think there are a lot of people with a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety, a lot of hurt. I don't even hang out on Facebook. Okay. I post and ghost. So I just go to drop off episodes and then I walk away. Every time I turn it on, like,
the social media voyeur, right? Just like drop and go.
Not even voyeur. Like I'm not even hanging out to look, but like it just turns on, right? We open the browser and it's always like the first thing is either pro Trump, ravenous, like this is incredible, burn them all, anti-vax, whatever, or Trump and Musk are the devil, burn every Tesla. And it's like, oh my God, I gotta go. Just copy paste, goodbye. And that's even me. That gives me anxiety. Just seeing it. It's like, oh.
And I think everybody's anxious. I think people do want something different. Like they like to know everything and have the little snippets. And I don't think we'll ever go back to where a large swath of the people, read 3-page long articles in a newspaper. We like to get just a bit, and we like to engage. But I think having an opportunity to communicate with those folks in a real way, I don't know. I'm hoping that it changes. I don't know. I'm not a social media person either, but I will say that I remember The Onion when it was a newspaper out of UT, and The Onion was around for a while on Instagram, and then it just kind of went dormant. It wasn't really part of the culture, and it's back, and it is hilarious. It is so good right now.
It was The Onion. There was also like the Drudge Report. That was a good one. Yeah. Babylon Bee is hilarious.
Yeah. Can we get some more satire in our lives? My goodness.
There was a guy when I really understood satire and like learned to love it. I was a junior in college, and there was this guy. He was on Maddox at X Mission. Okay, and this guy would just write these articles, and he ended up getting a book deal. It was the ABCs of Manliness. Okay. I saw it in an airport. I was like, that's the dude. Like, that's Maddox. And it was like his satirical wit was so unparalleled and so shocked. Like, I remember this girl I was dating who was, she's like an English major, and she was like very smart. At the time, she would like give me horrible crap for reading him. I was like, this is damn genius. Like his capacity, he had these really ridiculous things about like making fun of people's kids and how he's like, I can run faster, draw better, and frankly beat up your kid if I wanted to. And he's like a 40-year-old man, and he would write these bits that were just you're like, how did you even say that out loud? Like, it's so out there. And then again, The Onion just is so clever and
David
so
Sedaris, David Sedaris,
No.
He's also, I'm just thinking like satire kind of from the other side of that manliness coin. We need a lot more of that.
We need more of that.
I am so glad The Onion's back.
It's great.
It is so good.
I love hashtag not The Onion. When you see something that's so out there, you're like, oh, because The Onion has become that's the reference point for people like to Kleenex. Understand satire. Yeah. It's literally Kleenex. I appreciate it. We need more stuff to bring out the absurdity and bring laughter.
Yeah.
Right? I listened to this podcast probably like a year ago that was talking about a book that I think was called like The Jester Rules the World. And it was about that you have characters throughout all lore and classic tales that are these people that are like dancing as the sky rains fire and like laughing, and they survive and they get through, and like Coyote, right? In Native American or Maui and Polynesian lore, or like all of these people who like find this funny, or like kind of like the Robin Hood portrayal, like find this like little clever niche, and they do important things, but they're also not the people that are like sitting at the grand table with like the grand leaders, like hashing out in these formal manners. It's like they're dancing around in the chaos.
Yeah.
And
they're seeing the reality of it
and those
saying,
people,
I'm living in it.
I remember, and going through the election, I have this dear friend who's an executive senior partner at Ernst & Young, and so like big guy, way up top, and he's in his 50s, and he takes tax law, like tax is his thing, right? And so he was really concerned about, he's very much a conservative guy, and he was really concerned if Biden got elected. And I told him, I was like, buddy, I don't want to use his name, but I was like, buddy, we're going to be fine. Like, this is the most incredible theater the United States has ever produced. Like, I paid every cent of my admission with my tax dollars. I'm not missing a beat. Yeah. And from that point, I'm on this big group text with him. He's like, oh my God, man, you're right. Like this, like lean back, get a thing of popcorn, do your vote, and then just like, it's okay. We're going to be okay. We're all going to be Americans. Like, we've gone through rougher times, we've gone through better times, but like, let's just keep going day by day. Don't get sucked into the abyss of despair.
Yeah. I mean, elections do have consequences for some.
Well, they have consequences for everyone.
Yeah. No, but you're right. Like, we can't get into the, like, this is the last election, right? This is where, everything is, because you will eventually just perpetuate exactly what you are feeling, and you're going to do it to yourself. You're going to do it to your communities. And then all of a sudden your neighbor's going to move, and you have to buy their benches and their 90s Oakley glasses. And
can I get a comment from you to like Idaho in general? I'm like, this is what you need to do to be friends again. Come on, guide the way, Monica Church.
Well, I mean, all I can just lean on my upbringing, and we had, and I grew up where I grew up in Boise. I mean, it was and is a very conservative part of Boise. And everyone had different political ideals, and people came from very different places. This is also when Micron was just growing, up there on the hill, and I grew up down below. And we had block parties all the time. And I mean, I don't know that like the political ideologies or specifics beyond, like, I knew, our neighbors over here were Catholic because, they invited me to Sunday school a couple of times, and, I had been to dinner with them. Like, I knew, over here that, these people, this woman had a shopping problem. It was like one of those original shopping problems where the FedEx truck was coming every day.
The original. Now we all have that affliction.
Yeah, we all have that. But she was like pre-Amazon. Like, like I can remember certain things, but we always had these block parties, and they were so fun, and all the kids got together, and everybody brought, food, and we just like, why can't we just do that a lot more? Like, we're eating every night. We're all eating. Like, why can't once a month we do it with people in our neighborhood? Our neighborhoods are as diverse as they always were. And even the places where people are like, no, mine's not diverse, they definitely are. You just aren't seeing some of those people because they're probably hiding, and they don't feel like they, belong because one voice feels like it's louder than the other. Like, let's do that. And I mean, not to steal poor Robert Putnam, but let's join some bowling leagues or something. We need some civil society back in our lives. I'm actually going this weekend to accept a what do you call that? Hall of Fame award for my grandfather, who was a Dimone. Do you know what that is?
No.
Hopefully I'm saying that right. So you know what the Masons are?
Yes.
Right. So there's like a younger man's group for like school age children that then, it's kind of like Weeblos to Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it. So my grandfather was a Dimone. That's wrong.
It's fine.
Dimole?
The dude before
right.
the Mason.
Yeah, the little Masons. And like those kind of organizations, like we all need to be in those. Why are we not in those? Like, my grandfather was also, I mean, he was a lot of different things, but he was also a Shriner. Like I remember I always wanted to like wear the little Shriner's hat.
Wait, what's a Shriner?
Also it's a, it's a group
Oh, a
of
group,
people.
group.
Yeah. The Shriners.
Yeah. No, there's a, not to make this, leaning into any political avenue, but there's a book called Men on Strike and War on Boys, two different books, both good. Both I thought were reasonable reads. One of them was not that great, but the point is that there was a description of men's groups that used to exist and were very, very common and were all of those, right? All of those were places where men could mentor and meet other men. They could engage in meaningful pursuits. They could contribute to the communities and societies. And in the last 40 years, there's been a push to essentially eliminate those because people were like, oh, it's just some boys club. Like nothing's good when like men get together. It's like, really? Is that really like really is nothing good when men get together?
See, I'm going to say something that's
no, please
controversial here.
Listen, you're not in session anymore. You just get to be my friend Monica.
I just said it never ends. I mean, I think that the narrative has been shaped to say that there was some kind of cultural shift that said that men shouldn't be getting together and groups of men shouldn't be getting together. And I don't think that's exactly what happened. I mean, I think when corporate business and that large scale kind of right to work movement happened, one of the things you have to do is that you have to alienate workers from workers, and you have to alienate, right, groups of people so that they don't connect and start communicating about whether it's work or family or whatever it is, who has, who doesn't, those are the kind of things that happen when you get groups together. Now, traditionally, the working force was men, and we can have a conversation about that. That's a different thing. And men had groups, you have your labor union, and then you have your Rotary Club, also the Masons, also the Lions, also the Shriners. Yes. Yeah. And those same groups were probably working in the same factories, were probably part of the same union. And if they weren't, they may have even unionized, during a time they were all part of an Elks Club or whatever it is. Like there is a correlation between the reduction in unions and unionization and the reduction of these civil society groups of men getting together and, just enjoying each other and being a part of something that had nothing to do with politics or who's married or who has kids or, whatever else it is that, divides us. So but I hate the narrative that it's like, oh, we needed to feminize men and we needed to get them out of their, groups. That's just not the way it happened.
Well, I don't know that what you're saying is mutually exclusive with what I'm saying, right? You're saying there's a correlation as far as time frame. Yeah, there's also a correlation with the uptick in autism during that time frame, right? Like we could correlate a lot of things that have happened in the last 40 years, but I can tell you as a man, I have experienced in my lifetime a large criticism of what people consider, masculinity.
For sure.
Right. So and especially considering that there was an attempt to mold and propagate masculine traits, not negative masculine traits, but positive masculine traits, but masculinity absolutely at its core in these arenas. Mm-hmm. There, I believe, was absolutely a pushback against that. And
in our lifetime, 100%.
Right.
And you're right. They're not mutually exclusive. They're just both and, but also manufactured, and we can get out of it. We can get back to having
I would love
Masons
that.
Groups.
I've experienced what was
Demolay.
It's
Demolay.
There you go.
And one of the things that the organizer for the statewide Demolay group said is that they actually have had a huge uptick in their young, cohort. Right. Recently, and how excited I was going to be as a teacher to see, all the, the large amount of young people that are going to be there for this induction into the Hall of Fame, which is a big event every year. And he was telling me about how for quite a few years it was, they were just really trying to keep this thing going. And there's been this uptick. And you're right that there might be some that would be like, oh no, groups of men getting together in a, whatever fashion. But also just, we got to find community.
That's my bigger concern, which is community, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I remember kind of realizing about 5-6 years ago is that a lot of my older friends that I had, because I have, some older friends like mentors and stuff, and it's like, they don't have friends, the guys. And for women that I know, they absolutely have social groups, support groups, even if it's just like people they meet for coffee every day, or a couple times a day down at the coffee shop. Women in general are very good at collecting in social gatherings for whatever pursuit, right? And I've never been a woman. I don't know what that is, right? But men, and I'm one of those people. Like I would, express to somebody recently, like I don't do a good job making friends to have friends.
Yeah.
I make friends out of pursuits. And that's it. If I'm not pursuing something, then I don't just like have people that I have, right? That it's like, oh, whatever. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but a lot of the older men that I know had friends when they were in their professional lives and whatnot. And then as they moved on with their lives in retirement and whatnot, they just kind of became alone. Whereas my grandmother, had her bridge group, right?
Yeah.
If you think about Seinfeld, you got George's parents.
Yeah.
The mom has like her, manja group or whatever it is. And George's dad just like sits at home alone. He's never portrayed as having friends or like a social gathering,
No,
right?
he has no friends.
Right. So he's this angry old Jewish dude sitting at home, like grumpy about, being a chef in Vietnam, right? That was a wild episode.
Korea.
Yeah, Korea. There it is. Like he was, remember that episode when he
course.
gives everybody food poisoning. But I was young and arrogant. I thought with enough spices and slow cooking. Yeah.
Goes back to making all the food for Kramer and
Oh my God.
who made the food for the Jewish
Yes.
dating community.
Yes. And then the guy starts choking and he has a flashback and flips all the tables.
Yeah.
An incredible scene. Iconic.
Yeah. Well,
we need community, men and women, everyone.
So I'm thinking about it as I'm becoming like in this middle part of life. It is interesting. I mean, women are just better at holding on to relationships. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of both cultural and then just genetic.
Yeah.
Like you hold on to family, you hold on to things. But I have found in my life, like men are really good, boys are really good at making friends. Like they just like make friends. It's like, hey, you're at the park. I also am at the park. Best friends.
Children in general. Like, hey, should we run to that flagpole? Best friends.
Yeah, best friends. And that is, that can be true for boys and young men, and then professional men. I have found in my life, and a lot of the women I know, that there was a lot. I didn't have a lot of really close friends. There's a lot of internal dialogue that happens with girls and young women that makes it very difficult to engage with other women. There's a lot of, the cultural competition and other things. And I found it very difficult to have community with women as a young person. I mean, it was hard. And now, for like the first time in my life, I've got, my YMCA ladies group that, we meet all the time and I see them every day. And I'm just growing this community of women organically. It's just like we're all coming out of the woodwork and we're done with the whatever it is that happened. So, but you're right. As men get older, after they get through their professional career, they do seem to kind of go into this kind of isolated. And
that's a problem. And again, I think one thing that the groups used to offer is they were task-oriented groups.
Yeah.
It was like, we're going to get together and we're going to have this social time, but then like, we're also going to raise money, or we're going to like fix this elementary school playground, or we're going to engage in these pursuits that take time, right? And we have time because we're retired.
Yeah.
They take time, they take expertise and skills, which we have. I don't want to work 50 hours a week, but I have skills and I'm going to find an outlet to better my community and support my community with these skills. Like that was kind of the orientation of those groups, which is great.
It was consistent.
And you see the training, you see men training young men to do that in organizations like Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts, right? Like to get your Eagle, you have to engage in like this community contribution. You have to engage in this community betterment. And it was training young men to value at a very, very high level, having something to offer the community. And like, that is really, really cool. And I hope we can, as a community, I don't know, like maybe I often wonder, it's like, listen, what are you doing? like, what are you doing? You think you're adding some insight to this? Like, you just got here, and like people have been fighting this fight with, transplants coming in, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, maybe it is dumb. Maybe it is dumb. Maybe this has been tried a million times over. Maybe like there are all the reasons why it doesn't fail. But you know what? Like maybe it's our time to try. Maybe it's you and maybe it's me. Like maybe it's our time to try to bring people together. And like the people that have been trying, yeah, dude, they gave it their shot. Maybe it's our shot.
Absolutely. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not valued and what you're doing doesn't matter. It matters.
No, I just mean like in life.
Even if you're a transplant, which is a new word.
Yeah. Is it? I thought like everybody was like,
yeah.
What did they call people from California in 2015? Just people?
Well, there was the 90s Californians. There was a real pushback then, and then the more recent. But
Dr. Emily Wakehill, who I had in here recently.
Beavers.
She was great.
She loves beavers.
She's coming back in the beginning of May. I did not want her to stop talking. I was like, it was
She's
amazing. She pointed out a lot of very interesting things to me, which specifically the relationship between, Californians and Idaho runs incredibly deep. She said the first white person to be born in Idaho was a Californian. I was like, what? So again, like, I don't know. I mean, this is, I hope I'm not attributing that to her. I'm pretty sure she said that on the episode.
She's a historian
Yes.
among a million different things, but certainly about the history of the West.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would take just about anything she said as truth. But yeah, I mean, California and Idaho have been connected forever. You're not going to find more, gems and gold than in Idaho and California. And there has been these series of, movements from California into Idaho, and there's been pushback. And those people are now, they're like, they're second generation, and they probably don't even talk about it. I don't know what happened. It would be interesting to talk to somebody that came over in the 90s. And because there was, I mean, there was the same adage, get your license plates changed immediately because you'll end up getting your car keyed or, get yelled at or your tires slashed. It definitely was a thing. And then it, died out and then it came back.
Yeah. We were about to be more connected until recently,
Yeah.
With Lava Ridge, but that got axed. We were going to be connected via power grid. Direct line.
Oh.
Yeah, God bless it. Listen, it's been a long day for you. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, anytime.
I'm really
After 3
excited
p.m.
to keep. Yeah, after 3 p.m. Awesome. I'll get us coffees next time. I'm really pumped for this year. So, like, just so you know, it's first off, we have elections in May that I didn't know we had, like library districts and things like that. I want to interview all those people, which would be really cool. But
Auditorium districts?
Yes, yes. So from here until sewer district, from this point until, like mid-August, it's going to be all agro-tourism, outdoor stuff. I'm going to the Henry's Fork. Like I'm going to do a lot of awesome stuff and help kind of showcase things in Idaho. So if you have recommendations, give them to me.
Yeah, well, next week is the Andrews Center's Environmental Conference. I'm going to be moderating a panel on Hell's Canyon on the 16th. And then there's a series of short films about Hell's Canyon at the Egyptian for free on the 15th. But yeah, I'll keep you informed.
Keep me informed. And then, man, when we hit the election season going into November, and then the governor's elections,
I know. Like November seems like what? It seems so close.
And then primaries.
And then primaries.
Like the year just got so short in my head. It's like, wait, like I only have 2 months here and then like we got to switch. But dude, what an adventure.
Yeah, really is. It is an adventure. And I'm so excited to be a part of it with you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. Monica, thank you for coming. We'll do this again.
Okay.